welcome to Your Data HQ. We have Meghna Mukherjee here with us today. Meghna is currently working with Kyndryl as a senior user experience designer. In her current role, she provides design solutions for the cost and asset management module of the multi-cloud management platform. With around 14 years of varied experience, she has worked as an instructional designer, a multimedia artist, a visualizer, a graphic designer, an animator, and all of this eventually led to her current occupation as a user experience designer. For a brief period, she was also an entrepreneur of a handicraft venture called Petals on Earth. Post that, she got into core user experience design with Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India. And that brings us to Kyndryl today. So thank you, Meghna, for being here with us today. You're also the first guest since Data Epoch got rebranded into Your Data HQ. So you're the first guest speaker of Your Data HQ.
Thank you, Sanjana. I'm happy to be here talking to you and sharing my experience on Your Data HQ.
Awesome, awesome. So how did you get into the field of designing?
Well, I think I was destined for design, but it took some time for me to figure it out. As far as I can remember, I've always been fascinated by, any format of design, be it digital design, the fine arts. So anything that would impress me, I would absorb it instantly. But I did study, I did study computer science and statistics in college, and I actually enjoyed it. Awesome. I enjoyed it to the, yes, so I enjoyed it to the point where I thought about pursuing it. But there was something that always, wanted me to explore design as a profession. I always wanted to do that. And I have a wonderful, family where they always encouraged me to pursue my interests, just explore so that I don't have any regrets later. So what I did was, before I graduated, I took up a few freelance assignments to basically fund my design education. And then I graduated and I got an offer as a statistician, but by that time I was on my design path. So after I completed my graphic and web design course, I got an offer from a research lab. I think that was an amazing start. It was HP Labs. And that was my introduction, not just to, design, but to user experience research as well, which completely fascinated me. So that was my, first stepping stone.
Awesome, awesome. So looks like you got the best of both worlds, design and creative side, as well as like the entire tech and statistics side of things. So what is your opinion on like, how do you think designing for ML products and services is different from just other design for tech?
Right. So in terms of, my UX design process, I would say that remains a constant. But yes, ML projects hold a special place, and I'll tell you exactly how. So whenever I have a requirement, what I do is first, maybe have a kickoff call to try and understand the scope of the work a little better, talk to my business stakeholders, see what business problems need to be addressed, then move into being able to understand the problem a little better, where you define your user personas. Who are we solving this problem for? Maybe visualize the journey of the user, build empathy maps. Now, once all of this is defined, we get into a user research phase. Not just a user research, I would say a research phase where we have user interviews, where I would get more information about the feature that I'm going to be working on, maybe have a competitive analysis done at this stage, and use all of this information to inform my design, which would be my prototype. So, when this is the visual representation. So once there is, something ready to present, I would go ahead and test it out with my users, get feedback. That would be, a lot of iterations until we have an agreed upon version, and then, hand it off to developers and so on and so forth. So how is an ML project different? So to me, I right from the research phase, I extensively collaborate with the data science team to the point of annoyance. So I would say that, to me, they are not just my subject matter experts. I treat them as one level of my end users. So when I have these discussions, I do it so that I'm able to understand data. I'm able to understand the data that I need to work with. What kind of data am I dealing with? Is it static? Is it dynamic? What models are being used? How accurate is the data? The quality of data? We are talking about suggestions, recommendations, predictions. So what is the messaging that we need to build around it? What is the best representation to our users so that they are not overwhelmed by all of this data? Is there a visual that can be more effective in conveying all of this? Sometimes because we deal with telemetry, we might need to have a messaging around the permissions we need from users, maybe, or opt-out options and things like that. So this is the research phase discussions with my data scientists. I actually do a walkthrough of my prototype as well with my data scientists. Like I said, they are my first level of end users. So to understand how effective that solution is before I take it to my users, for me, I swear by this process. It's worked out for me, and I really think that collaboration is at its best when I bring in data scientists early in the stage.
Awesome. That's very good insight. And I can assure you that even though data scientists might appear to be, frustrated, I think the job you're doing is of immense value just to understand, how users can best benefit from data science models. Because just creating the model in itself does not deliver a value. It has to be conveyed in a way that's useful to the end users. So thank you for that great job. And I think there's a commonality here that while collaborating with data scientists, both of us, data scientists as well as UX designers, really have to focus and decode one thing, and that is who are our users and what do they need, right? Like that's ultimately what we're trying to solve for. And it's not a very straightforward process to discover that, but do you have a framework that you follow?
Well, I would say that, one, being able to understand how, we deliver value to our users, that is very important, not just in terms of design, but it rolls up in criticality to, the product as well. So how do we understand, whether we are delivering value to our users? It would be to hear it from the horse's mouth. So, just ask, interview your users. So while, we think user interview is like a simple term, but it's a little tricky, because if I ask my users direct questions, I might end up with answers like yes or no. And, the context of why isn't there. So we do have a prescribed method where, we have a script of open-ended questions. But this is a guideline. Obviously, when you would improvise based on the responses from the people you are interviewing. But based on this guideline, you would, elicit insights from your users and then try to understand the value that you can deliver. Now, when we frame these questions, something that we are looking to do is to answer a few higher level questions of, what is the need of whatever you're offering to your user? Why do they need it? The second would be something like, how are they currently having their needs addressed? What are they using? Maybe a website, an app, or talking to people. And finally, the next aspect would be to understand the problems that they are facing with their current interactions. So to give you an example, maybe if we consider a healthcare app where there is guidance to a user on their maybe wellness journey. So the questions that I would ask my user, one, to understand why is there a need for my product. So I wouldn't just ask them, why do you need this product? I would ask them to maybe take me through a typical day in your life. What could you define health? What does health mean to you? What health concerns do you think can be addressed if you were using my app? What would be the goal? What do you look at benefiting from at the end of interacting with my app, or what I have to offer? Now, the second set of questions would be about their current interactions. So you have some health concerns. How are you addressing them right now? So they might tell me that I'm Googling, I'm just going to go Google for it. Or let's say that they say that I'm actually consulting a healthcare professional. So that would lead to my third group of questions, which would be, so you are consulting a healthcare professional. So do you have a need to come to an app? Is there something that isn't getting addressed there? Or if they say, no, I'm not talking to a healthcare professional, what are your reservations? What are you looking for? So identify problems over there. Sometimes if the user is already using what I have to offer, I could just observe them, through the whole process and try to uncover problem points over there. So I would then, based on all of this information collected, I would come up with a statement that defines, my user's problems, and then using that, I would derive the value that I'm looking to, deliver to my user. So it all revolves around feedback from users, but I would say that we have seen that when you have a feature that doesn't take into account the value that you're going to deliver to users, it probably goes into cold storage, hibernation, and sits there. So yes, I think this, you definitely need to understand the value that you are going to deliver.
Thank you for walking us through the workflow and process of identifying these values. And sometimes these values change with time, right? For example, if it's a food delivery app, the very first value a user might need is just quick delivery. Followed by that, they might sort of need good customer care and just a human to talk to address any issues. Followed by that, they might need something like, I want recommendations of restaurants similar to my favorites, but that I haven't discovered yet. So have you noticed that, the value proposition keeps changing over time? And when it does, what is your iterative process to address those value changes?
Right. Absolutely. I totally understand what you're talking about. There have been quite a few instances of that happening, when I've worked on projects. So one is design by nature is a highly iterative process. And that is driven by, insights from my users, feedback from my users. Sometimes it could be a change in technical capabilities. So, I can deliver a lot more value to my users. So products, actually technology is ever evolving and it's pushing boundaries. So I would want to, revisit my design, revisit my experience to ensure that I'm, drawing maximum benefit of the way technology has changed. So definitely, these changes could be minor changes, or they could be something that, just makes me go back to the drawing board, research. Then, the research phase would again go ahead and impact the prototype, and then I would have a usability testing and so on and so forth. But the thing is, the idea is always to welcome and invite such feedback, such changes, to know that, my end goal is to give an improved solution. The solution has to evolve. So, and especially when we work in an agile setup, because we are delivering, we have smaller deliverables. So for a UX designer, it becomes even more important to have feedback on smaller chunks so that, we fail fast, we fail cheap, we learn, and, we go through the whole process sooner and we improvise. So to give you an example, I was working on a project management tool where, based on initial feedback from users, I had built a prototype where our user would land on a page that gave you granular details of a task. So that was the feedback. So I prototyped it and then tested it with users again. Now that was a complete change in the insights that we got, because what our users said is that this is way too granular. I'm not looking for things that are so much in detail. So they said that we come here. So questions about what is important to you. Then what are you looking for on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis? So what they mentioned was that we are looking for higher level data. What's upcoming this week, what's been completed, what's overdue, maybe some critical alerts, anything that needs a change. So this is what they were looking for. So then, back to research, went ahead with a lot of brainstorming. And as a result of this, there was, it essentially means that we had a dashboard page that was a part of the prototype now. And that was the landing page for our users. And then when you test it, you actually realize that, okay, this actually did add a lot of value to the user when compared to, what we had before. So I would say that keeping my feedback loop open, being open to these changes, in fact, inviting discussion on this before it gets to a stage where, it's going to just get into a big mess, I would say it's definitely a part of, my design process.
Very cool. That's very cool. So what advice would you give to someone who's starting out new in this field?
Right. So it's an advice that I give to myself as well, being, many years in this industry. I would say that keep learning, be very open to learning, absorb everything that you can. And I don't just mean, just UX design related things. I don't just mean that, keep learning about user experience design or design only. I would say whatever you're curious about, find out more about it. So whether it is data science or maybe something related to finance, healthcare, just learn more. If you're interested, talk to people who are experts, or talk to people who that work in that field. So interact, collaborate. That just opens your mind up, and also find mentors. That's something which definitely works for me, where if you know that there is someone who you follow or who you think has a lot of knowledge in this field, they can help you out with understanding better. Make that connection, talk to them, see if something works, because if it does work out, you actually get you have so much advantage from their experiences. And the third thing I would say is volunteer. So, if you really want experience, you can just volunteer. If you're really passionate about something, volunteer to work on projects. And I think that definitely makes a big difference.
That's very good advice. Thank you. And outside of work, just tech and everything else, what do you get inspired by the most?
Okay, that's like, that's going to trigger so many responses. But yes, I had a part of my life dedicated to my handicrafts venture, my entrepreneurial venture, Petals of Earth. So it was because I'm very passionate about the arts. So my venture in particular was, it dealt with clay handicrafts, terracotta handicrafts. So it's still something that I'm very passionate about. I carry this with me everywhere I go. So even when I'm working, I try to bring in that, even, irrespective of where I work, I try to bring in that element of, let's see how I can use this to make this experience better. Maybe I could have, maybe some clay, a model of clay to depict a process. How do I make this better? So it's for me, it's always something that I have outside of work. I paint, I sketch, I do a lot of clay work. I actually make these clay things at home, mess and everything included. That's a part and parcel of it. But it gives me a lot of joy. It gives me, I also see it as a way to add value. I've never seen someone who, hasn't smiled after seeing those clay models or whatever it is. So I definitely look at it as my passion. And something else, apart from this, I love to explore within my city, outside my city, whatever it is, just explore, open my mind, just absorb whatever I can with these experiences. So that's what I do, outside of work to keep myself even more motivated.
Well, that paints a very vivid image of your creative energy, and I can understand how you bring that into work as well. That's very cool.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Meghna. And everyone, don't forget to subscribe to Your Data HQ to continue to stay connected with the community you can learn from.